Good day, lords and ladies, and welcome to Mahokenshi. This is a deck building / card battling turn-based strategy game designed and developed and published by GameSource Studios. They have sent me early access preview to basically do a first impressions of, so we'll dive right in. One thing I will say is that this game, basically this preview, is available on Steam if you wish to play it. I will have a link in the description below. But this is extremely early access. Like, this is almost it is not even early access, and it's not really even early access. It's more like beta stage of the game, so a lot of things could change and a lot of things could develop between now and the final release of the game, so please keep that in mind. There is a nice intro video to this. Unfortunately, I couldn't record it. The software did not like, well, the demo did not like me trying to record it, so if you wish to check out the demo or the cut screen, I suppose you'll be able to find it on YouTube. So let's dive into the game, shall we? So I have played a little bit here, as you can see. It saves the game. Let's check out the settings. This is obviously this is very early access, so it's pretty bare bones. You have general resolution, all this kind of stuff here. Relatively not too bad. You've got language, English subtitles, and a little bit. So it's pretty basic, but it gets the job done. But as I said, this is a demo, so this part's not really important. The gameplay part is, so you have two bits here. You have the upgrade, which you spend basically devotion on, or your currency. You can spend it in here to get better stuff. For example, get more starting funds at the beginning of a map. Get additional cards in your deck at the beginning of the map. There's no strike cards. Let's see. I think what we'll probably do is we will go. Yeah, we will go and grab more damage, and I will buy. Let's see up here. These cards basically are all just to do with the shopkeeper from the looks of it. Yeah. Get a bit more starting money, which is always useful. And what do we want to get? Additional shopkeeper card slots. Yeah, something like that. This basically affects the game, and I'll explain when we get into it in a bit more depth. But you see additional health, base defense, more attack. But the whole premise is rather quite simple. If you go to the world map, you have main story missions, which are these large lotus flowers here. And then you have like optional side missions that you can do, and you can repeat these verbatim. Now, let's take this story mission here. Strange events have been plaguing the remote islands of the Heavenly Kingdom. This is where we are, the Heavenly Kingdom. They tell you about it in the intro. I would like it if you had the ability to watch the intro video again from the main menu, but we don't. We just had to do it through here. You've been sent to investigate.
In the most remote islands of the Celestial Realm, rumors of rebels and uprisings are common. But more recent rumors speak of dark forces and villages being destroyed. You have been sent to investigate.
Right, so that's our mission. This fantasy world they've created has a very strong sort of Chinese/Japanese mythos to it. It has that feel, that sort of Heavenly Kingdom feel. If you know anything about either Chinese folklore or like Shinto folklore, so there's stuff like kappas and oni and other kinds of demons and sorcerers. But yes, so here are like basically one of the 4 characters or houses that you basically play as. You play as the character from a house, as you can see here. Unfortunately, the other houses are not yet accessible to play. Only Ayaka from the House of Ruby is. Youngest of the Mahokenshi, Ayaka is blessed by the spirit of the Tengu, winged kami of the mountains, offering offense over defense. She is fearless and relentless in her assault. So she's an offense playing deck, basically. So you select, in the demo, you play as her. Mission recap. In the remote island ancestral realm, rumours of rebels are not common, but the more recent rumours speak of dark forces and disappearing villages. We need to investigate. We get a bit of starting funds. As you can see here, movement is relatively simple. Right-clicking with the mouse. You have your energy pool down here on the bottom left-hand screen. That's how many actions you can take per turn. If you click on the ground here, you see how many action points. The blue number you can see there shows you how many action points it will cost to move. Yes, we have a breakdown here as well. Basically exactly what I said. Some terrain types, you hover over them, have higher costs to go through. As you can see that this takes 2 energy to get through rather than 1, so you can use this card, for example here, called Basic Safe Travel. We've upgraded this one, which means we have 3 defense when moving using it. So we can move there. We're out of actions that turn unless you have a card that allows you to boost your energy. You have to basically end your turn. I should say that Mahokenshi is a grid-based, a hex-grid-based adventure game in some regards. It's a nice open world map. I wish you could zoom out a bit more than you can here. I think this is as further as you can zoom. But you have a relatively expansive world to explore. This is just a starting map, which is slightly enclosed. There are bigger, more explorative maps that you can basically explore in the demo. But this is the basic concept, which is that it's you build a deck, you explore the world doing missions in a turn-based system on a hex-grid map. That's the basic concept of the game. And it does it really quite well, I think. We should go into it. I do love the little art styles. There are events a few tiles ahead of you, each contain unique stories in which choice will impact your rewards. I do like the artwork. The lots of little details makes it feel it's a beautiful world to look at, I will say. I've played a lot of sort of card-based games and turn-based games, and one of the things I will say is that the actual aesthetic of the map you play on, I find, is quite important to keep you interested, and they have nailed the aesthetic of basically sort of like that Chinese, Japanese, like folklore kind of distinct art style to it. The sort of heavenly kingdom in the clouds away from the mortal realm is something they've done very well. So let's get here. Finally, help has arrived. Bless the Kamis. The islands have been warned of your presence in the celestial islands. Unfortunately, not everyone shares the view that the Mahokenshi, and as such, malice, theft, and ambushes have been steadily increasing in the region. Beware and tread carefully. The celestial islands are no longer the haven of peace they used to be. Nothing can stand in the way of the Mahokenshi. Thank you for your warning. I should be on my guard. Let's go with this one. Just as the tales say, powerful but wise, but please beware of terrain and can be quite harsh. You gain 2 safe travel cards. Yep. As you can see here, this is basically the basic intro to the game, telling you how to play the game. If you want to take a card out, you left click it, drag it, an arrow will pop out showing you what you can do, and you do like this. And let's get onto this bridge. Some tiles have innate bonuses and negatives to them, as you can see here. If we're hovering over a forest card, if we're in there, we get innate free defense to our character. If we're in hills, we get innate free attack bonus to our attacks, which will play into the combat system. I do like it when you click on the ground, your token turns into a traditional sort of Japanese sandal, which is a nice little effect. I'm just moving along using it. This game, if I have anything to say about it, this game actually rewards you for strategically thinking how you're going to get around the landscape. Because you have a limited action economy, prioritizing movement is always good. Right, across the bridge, as you engage as you engage on the bridge, you sense a presence, a lone man who foolishly seems to believe he can face the Mahokenshi. He seems enraged. Trying to reason with him will be used only a class of sword to calm him down. Draw your sword and wait for his attack. As you draw your sword, the attacker seems stunned by your resolve and stance. Realizing that he isn't facing a regular village guard, he remains unshaken, and his lack of confidence provides you with the opportunity to strike. You gain 4 strike cards. You gain 1 strength for this turn. Strength is a damage modifier. Damage modifier, boost damage dealt by 1 per charge. Unfortunately, we're out of actions. He's on a hill, which that actually sucks for us, because that means he's going to attack us in his turn. So we actually have to get past him. And this is how combat works. You don't go into a menu, you don't go into a screen. You stay on the map, which is actually a nice feature. And you literally just... yeah. You literally just have to... you fight it out in the real world, which is actually a nice effect. Like this. Now, normally it would take us 3 actions to get into there. It's only going to take us 1 action to do. So we can actually get into these mountains, end our turn. And this is where tactics on the map come in. Now, he's been engaged, so he will come down off the mountain to attack us, which is good, because mountains actually give a really nasty bonus if you're fighting in them. So let us finish this ruffian. Wounded, the man collapses to his knees heavily, panting heavily. Please, Mahokenshi, sir, my reading, my English use skills are out the window. Please, Mahokenshi, stop, I beg you. Let me live. I can give you information in exchange for your mercy. I have eyes everywhere, pleading for his life. The man informs you that the population of a local village recently disappeared during an attack. To his knowledge, the attack was not carried out by the brigands on this island. Perhaps you can confirm whether he's telling the truth by entering the nearest village. Yeah, we can't get across the mountain because there's 3 actions to get across. If you hover over here, you can basically see your victory conditions. You can also see how many cards you have in your deck. This will show you your current deck hand. There are filters that you can put in place to basically change things if you wish. You can also see how much currency you have as well. Right, let's get to here, which has activated him by the symbol over his head, as you can see. I don't want to fight him on the mountain, because he'll get a nasty bonus, so let's try and draw him back off of it. Yeah, you can move and drag left mouse or WASD keys. There's multiple ways you can do. You can zoom out of the mouse wheel. You can change camera angle with holding down the right mouse. It works. It's a straightforward. It's a very comprehensive and straightforward control system. The game is straightforward to play as well. As you can see here, we have the enemies and information. He only has, so if you want to hover over him, you can see his stats. Still, its effects apply on the character can be seen below their health bar, as you can see here. Weakness, you just hover over it and it tells you what it does, which is nice. Weakness reduces damage dealt by 1 per charge, and it disappears after 1 use, basically. It ticks down 1 charge per turn. If you click on the bandit, you can see his information. He's active. He's currently in the plains. He has 2 energy. He has no base modifiers, and we get a 30 gold reward for killing him. And this turn, he'll basically attack with this card. That's not always the case. Some of the enemies have different attack cards that they draw each turn, and if you hover over them, you can see what they're going to do, which is always very nice. Now, we just had enough energy to basically kill him, and we got a bit of gold out of it for the bargain, which is always good. Now, these are like rewards scattered throughout the map. You have additional cards, you have money, and you have health. There's also quest-related stuff in the form of scrolls and villages and locations. But we will get onto that later. You can also turn up your movement speed here. I am going to move it up to very fast. I find the base speed a bit slow. So let's go here. And I don't need healing right now. I would like some extra cards though. So let's use our movement to get here. So when you hover over this, you can pick up a card, and you can pick up one of these cards. So, for example, we could pick up Reckless Strike, which does 12 damage, but we take damage. Common Armor Breaker, common Strength for the Tengu. We can gain Strength. When flying, gain 6 Strength instead, but this card requires us to discard something. To do that, I think I'm going to take Armor Breaker. Common isn't great because we take damage. So let's take Armor Breaker. It's range of 2, so we can use it away from enemy. It inflicts vulnerability, which means that they can do additional damage that turn, which is nice. And if we're on a mountain, we do additional damage with this card anyway, which is always useful. If we take that, our turn ends. The enemies do their thing, and then we can do our thing, which is to move. I didn't need the healing, but it's always useful to go into new areas, health topped up. So let's grab the money as well. Money is used predominantly for buying cards on the map, or for upgrading outside of the game, or outside of the quest. So let's keep poodling along. This is the basic bread and butter of the game. You explore the world, you have different events. It's similar to a lot of other card deck building games I have played. It works differently from the aesthetic and the game style, but you have choices which pop up. The interesting difference with this, though, I will say, is that unlike, say, Assault the Spire or Attack the Spire, or other deck building games like that, this one allows you to pick and choose the encounters, like the events that you come into. You, the character who explored the world, get to choose if you pick up an encounter or not by going over it. You don't have to do these things in the game if you don't want to. So if you don't want to do a side quest, you don't have to go over the scroll and pick it up. You can just continue with the main story, which is nice. Especially if you're not in the mood to have like a long drawn out session, you just want to get on with the main story and complete your mission, you can just do that, which is really quite pleasant. You see a group of people near the village. As you approach, one of them comes to meet you. Blessed be the Kami for sending a Mahokenshi to us in these times. Please, you must help. He seems anxious and distraught as he explains that the population of the entire village seems to have vanished. We heard screaming coming from the village in the northern forest a few nights ago. Please find out what has happened and prevent it from happening again. We know it's not much, but we hope that this gift will help you in your quest. And you can basically accept their gift, ask for gold instead, or honor is its own reward. Let's just go with the honourable option. The eldest jaws drop in surprise. Really? You would do it for us freely? May the Kami bless you and carry you onwards of your word of your honour to all the islands. The elder welcomes you to his house, says a meal with him, and then you walk away to fulfill the elder's demand. You feel better, rejuvenated. You get a bit of that energy back, which is useful because it means we can basically keep moving. Now, the issue we have is that if we go into this forest here and activate these two bandits, this band will activate him, but he may have an ability which will wake this guy up. So let's go here. Yeah, he's going to wake up because we're in base contact with his tile, which activates him on the world map. He's going to attack us. He's surveying, so he's not active yet. Okay. We're weakened, which is not great. So I'm going to pull back to a mountain and waste a turn to basically make him come towards us. We're taking a bit of damage, but we have a position of strength on the mountain. We can also, for example, use discard, which would do damage to him as well, because on a mountaintop, which is very nice, he's taking vulnerability, which means our damage is increased. So we can cut him down to size. I want to get some extra cards in my deck. Now, one thing I will say is that the difference between the main story missions and the optional side missions that you have in the world map. For example, when I showed you at the beginning of this, you had the large lotus flower, which were main story events. Then you had smaller lotus flowers, which were sort of optional side missions. The optional side missions are actually a lot tougher. In my honest opinion, I found the optional side missions to be a lot tougher than the main story missions. The first one is basically turn limited. So you have to complete the mission in a set amount of turns, which in itself doesn't seem so bad. But it's quite challenging to actually do. So you have to balance that. That's one of the things that I found with this game. There's a lot of tactics that's involved that's not immediately shown on the surface. Right, so... Oh wait, take 5 damage, advanced tile. I thought it was do 5 damage. I would have picked up that card otherwise. I'd rather just attack, to be honest. I mean, that's useful when you're trying to get desperately out of a situation. Yeah, he's gonna hit me with that. A little bit of damage, no issue. Gonna hit him with this. We don't do any damage, but we do weaken him, so our attacks are stronger. And we can continue our adventure. Right. Let's see if we can get a card that's useful in this situation. Advance, gain strength, gain energy, suffer disarm on mountains, draw 2 cards. I personally like these two for the character currently playing. Steel Gust and Piercing Thrust are really nice, especially for getting through high armor. I will grab that one because piercing high armor is important. We are going to take a hit, unfortunately, from where we are. So our damage is building up. What I will do, I'm going to take the high ground so the enemy doesn't. Then I will attack from above. Unfortunately, don't have a lot of attack cards, so we have to waste energy this turn. He's going to flee and try and get reinforcements, which we can't allow him to do. So let's run after him. We'll stab him in the back, which will bypass with this card, which will bypass all his armor block. And we can advance further into the enemy territory. As you can see here, there's a story event as well. Another thing you should be aware of, at the end of a mission, like this current mission that we have here, when we finish it, we lose our deck. There's one or two things I dislike about the game, if I'm being honest from what I've played. The first is that you lose your deck at the start of at the end of every mission. Now that in itself isn't a massive problem. I understand why the developers have done what they have done. It prevents sort of the meta deck building where you build a deck. For example, if we use a game I have played a lot recently, Black Book. In Black Book, you build up a particular deck of cards or pages in the case of the book of Black Book, where you like the particular combination and you stick with that. In this, that's not really as available, which is that when you lose your deck at the beginning, or at the end of every mission, and you have to build a new deck at the start of it, you're having to basically work on the fly and customizing your own combos, which is nice and adds a bit of replayability to the game. Personally, I would like if you were able to maybe take a card with you or a couple of cards with you at the end of the mission, like pick a card you wish to advance with you into the next story chapter to show your character's development. The other thing I dislike about this game is the optional side missions. The ones that have turns on them, like the one I mentioned previously, is very brutal. Like I'm not kidding. I tried the mission like 5 times and I have yet to actually complete it because of how the action economy works in the game. becomes very difficult to do that particular mission, and I think they need to adjust the balancing of how many turns they give you, especially considering it can, like, people get discouraged if it's too hard to try and complete the first side mission in the game. Greetings, warrior. You might be just who I'm looking for. I assume you are here about missing villagers, but perhaps you could spare some time to listen to an old man's request. You nod. He explains that even before the recent events, a band of insurgents had been bringing turmoil to the region, robbing travellers foolish enough to walk the roads alone. Our hands have been full trying to prepare the village in case of attack. Even though we can't afford to ignore the threat of these bandits pose, I don't have a single man I can spare to hunt them down anymore. As the captain of the guard of the nearest village, he officially requests that you deal with the bandit leader. Worry not, I can handle such important matters in your stead. You have no idea how relieved I am to hear this. You should find their leader on the island to the east. Side quest. This is basically a tutorial mission, which is an intro, which basically covers all the things that pop up in the game. You have these brown scrolls, which are your primary victory condition, and then you have bonus side quests, or side events. So our mission is to basically... That's one thing I do wish you could do. I wish you AWSD keys don't move very fast. This is one of the other gripes I have. If you do use the SWSD keys, they don't move very fast. But if you drop and drag with the mouse by holding down the left mouse button, you move very quickly, which is something I find a bit strange. You'd think basically you could move as quickly with the keys as you could with the mouse drag, but hey ho. This is our goal over here. Unfortunately, if my memory serves me correctly, yeah, it doesn't actually tell you. It doesn't actually tell you where. It just basically says hunt down the bandit leader leading the insurgents, and the camera moves, and you're supposed to know where it is, which is nice and all. But I do think they need to, for example, if you click on this icon here, it should take you to the location of the side quest. It doesn't. And so you have to sort of click on and figure out, oh yeah, that's a brigand that you saw it when the camera moved, you know this is the bad guy. But in case you forget or are distracted, it would be nice to have a function where you click, maybe he has like a red circle around him or something, just basically something permanent, so that yeah, this guy is basically an important enemy that you're fighting. Just little quality of life things. We've got another bandit here. I don't particularly want to fight him on his favourite terrain type. So let's... Well, not favourite terrain type, but the terrain is favourable to him, I should say. So let's pull back into here. Hold the line. He's got to become active. He's got to go and basically raise an ally, which is not something I really want. So let's move out of here. Use one of our cards to get into here without using too much energy. And from a position of strength, we can basically hack down his reinforcements. Yeah, he's still got to hit us because he had one action left. We'll kill him. Grab some money. And then if you want to go this way to go and beat the boss in the demo, you can. Now, I'm going to hop back to the main menu just to show off what we do with this cash. Mission selection screen. Yeah, there we go. If you go back there, if you don't complete the mission, you don't keep the money, unfortunately. Well, sorry, I tell a lie. You don't get upgrades. Devotion you get from basically completing missions in the game. Money is only spent in the map. I keep on forgetting that. The problem is that icons at a distance look relatively the same, though they have a different purpose. I am just going to basically show off the side mission here. So if you accept this mission, Cult Conspiracy. You can't choose these are still not open yet, so you have to go with the basic one. This mission is an alpha phase. Please give us feedback as you start to unveil how much the code has started to corrupt celestial lands. You discover that many of its followers have been threatening the villages of nearby islands. Restore the peace and get rid of the threat. And as you can see here, you have 2 victory conditions. Get rid of 20 enemies on the grid and do it within 35 turns. That doesn't seem bad. You're like, oh, you just had to kill 20 enemies within 35 turns. That's doable. Yes and no. My issue that I have with this, I just wanted to give it as an example, is that because your movement and action economy are tied, for example, unless you start every turn in base contact with an enemy, you actually spend about 2 turns trying to kill them. Especially for the harder enemies like the bandits who have more health and more armor. The best I have ever had on this mission is 1 turn off winning. I would have, if I had 36 turns, I would have won. Or to be honest, not even that. The issue I have is that it counts when you get to 35 turns. It counts as an automatic. I believe it counts as an automatic defeat. I can't remember off the top of my head. So either they need to increase the turn. I personally think they need to basically increase the turn time by about 5 to 40 turns. Because these are actually like nice story-based side missions which give a lot of information. And you want to have your players taking part in them. Unfortunately, I found it really frustrating because I tried it 4 times and every time I failed, relatively near the end, I will not lie. But it's still not that enjoyable if it was me. It's one of those things where you want to feel like you're being challenged, but at the same time you don't want to feel that the odds are too heavily stacked against you, especially in the early game. I mean, the strategy I came up with is that you work your way around here, taking out as many of the enemies as you can, because like 20 enemies is actually quite a lot if you think about it. There's like 6 in this starting area. There's 6 here, which is 12. There's another 4 up here, which is 16. So you actually have to get around most of the map to get the 20 enemies that you need to kill. And this is where the difficulty comes, because as you see here on this island, most of the enemies are bandits, which are going to take you a good couple of turns each to kill. And you see where the problem is. This is where I said the risk of the action economy comes in, which is that it takes about a full turn, I should say, to kill an enemy, a weak enemy. It takes about 2 turns to kill a bandit, full turns. So very quickly you realise that 35 turns isn't a lot. Especially considering that some of these tokens you have to spend an entire turn moving. You just can't move an attack. Because you basically say from here, say you kill this enemy here on one of these squares where you have more movement. You then spend a turn. If you try and go through the forest, you're going to spend a turn getting through the forest. And then you have to spend a turn fighting the enemy. On top of this, there's also the issue of healing, because obviously you only heal from drinking health potions, and the enemy quite quickly wear down your health in this game. There are ways to get around quickly on the maps. These scrolls have, as a reward for getting to them, like movement bonuses, which allow you to travel quickly around the place, which is nice. The downside still is, though, for example, the closest strategy I had for winning was to basically go around here in a loop to wipe out these guys, grab the scroll to get down to here to wipe out them. I mean, it still wasn't great. Like, actually, to be honest, the best way I did do it, which was that I should have probably gone up here, sort of done 180, gone up here, taken out these guys, swung down here, took out these ones here, moved through here, got the health scroll, or got the health potion, killed him, grabbed the scroll, zoomed up here, wiped out these ones, grabbed the scroll, used it to bypass a percentage of the terrain here to get at the bandits here, which are quick to kill, killed them, and then headed straight for this village to try and take out the bandits here, and then push to try and kill out the weaker enemies here. That's probably what I should have done, but I don't think that's necessary. I think that's you having to understand how the game works a bit too much for early on. I think they do need to increase the turns on missions, the turn times on missions, if I'm being honest. That's my major gripe I have with the game. I feel that the mission defeat parameters are too harsh, especially for early on when people are trying to get into the game. I find it quite discouraging. Or maybe that's the intended purpose. I don't know. The missions can be replayed multiple times, so maybe that's what developers want. They want you to basically play the main story missions to get a feel of how the game works, and then go back and do the optional side missions, which are harder, but the rewards are greater. But this is Mahokenshi. I like it. For a deck building game, it's a pretty unique design. I like the fact that you don't go into a battle map or anything like that. You don't go onto a battlefield like Attack the Spy or Assault the Spy. I can't remember what the name of that game is now off the top of my head. Or like in the Black Book, there's no sort of transition to a battlefield map. Where you fight enemies on the hex-grid is where you fight enemies. So the terrain matters, your tactical decisions about placing your character matter. I like that. I like the cards, the card artwork style is very nice, the music in the game is very nice. There are things that I do think it could be polished. I think that maybe you should be allowed to take a card after completing a main story mission. Maybe they allow you to take a card over with you into your deck to excel your character's experience, like the experience of their adventures carrying it forward. I also think that they need to sort of make the defeat conditions on the side missions, which are turn-based, more palatable. They need to increase the amount of turns you get. I also think they need to make it so that the AWSD keys pan the camera as quickly as just sort of drop and drag. Because just sort of grabbing the land with a mouse and moving it's really quick, and the ASWD keys aren't. So I think they sort of balance the speed of that as well. Besides that, relatively good game. As I said, the demo of this is up on Steam, with it coming to early access in the near future. So anybody who's interested in checking it out, go ahead. I'll leave a description in the link below. I've been Cornish-Knight. This has been Mahokenshi, and I shall see you all again next time. Goodbye.